From the 22 News Broadcast Center, this is a Decision 2016 special program. Today, a Democratic debate for the Massachusetts House seat in the 3rd Hampshire District. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Good afternoon. 22 News is working for you as we let the candidates you'll see on the ballot for the state primary on Thursday, September 8th, debate the issues. And today it's the Democratic candidates running for the Massachusetts House seat in the 3rd Hampshire District. State Representative Ellen Story has chosen not to run for re-election. We have 5 of the 6 Democrats who are running for the seat and here today. And if you could, just raise your hand as I introduce you. Vera Dalmani Cage is on the Amherst Pelham Regional School Committee. Solomon Israel Goldstein-ROSE is a community activist. Sarah LaCour is the Amherst Bid Executive Director. Eric Nakajima is an economic development consultant. And Bonnie McCracken is a member of the Democratic State Committee. Lawrence O'Brien, a former member of the Amherst Pelham School Committee, is a teacher and he cannot participate today because of his work schedule. Right now, we want to have each candidate introduce themselves. They'll have 30 seconds for an opening statement. And Eric, you go first.
Hello, my name is Eric Nakajima and I'm pleased to be with you today. As a region, we face many challenges. Public education, transportation, and local services are all stressed. We also have great potential to grow jobs, improve our quality of life, and invest in people at all levels. I believe I have the best combination of local roots, progressive values, and experience on Beacon Hill to be an effective advocate for you in Boston, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Sarah, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I'm Sarah LaCour. I'm a landscape planner and urban designer with over 25 years of experience in this field. What I would like to focus on for this district and what I've been working on for some time are jobs, both training for the jobs we have and creating new ones, education, making sure we have more funding for pre-K all the way through public higher ed, and the environment. It's critical that we protect our natural resources and plan ahead for resiliency and adaptation for climate change. I appreciate your vote on Thursday, September 8th. Thank you.
Bonnie, your opening statement, please.
Hi, I'm Bonnie McCracken. I'm a longtime resident of Amherst in Massachusetts. In 2012, I was successful in closing a loophole in a federal law to protect our deployed military from foreclosure. Banks were taking advantage of this loophole and I was able to close it for our Massachusetts soldiers. I'm experienced. I know how to make things happen at the State House and make them happen fast. I already have a plan to raise $6 million.
Time is up. We have to hold the 30 seconds. Solomon, your opening statement, please.
Hi, I'm Solomon Goldstein-ROSE. I grew up in Amherst and I've worked with the legislature and written state legislation. I want to get new energy in to get systemic change on the agenda, especially on education and climate change. Although I'm young, I have experience working in state government, and because I'm young, I have a unique perspective and passion to get the bigger things done. I've been endorsed by the Mass Sierra Club, John Olver, our former congressman, Alice Swift, Mark Jackson, and many others. Thank you.
Vera, your opening statement, please.
Hi, I'm excited to ask voters from Amherst, Pelham, and Granby to vote for me on Thursday, September 8th. I am a school board member and my experience has been about fighting for transparency and open government. My fight will be for to address income inequality and also the emergency of climate change. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, this is the time where I ask the questions and you come up with the answers. You have 30 seconds for your answers. We'll go in order from left to right on your stage here. I'll ask the question. Each of you get 30 seconds for the answer. We start off with Solomon. If a colleague in Boston asked you to tell them about your district, how would you describe it?
Completely driven by our public schools, both K-12 and higher ed, and reliant on our agricultural economy and natural environment. We have people who are extremely intellectual. We have very diverse people. Amherst, Pelham are very integrated in the schools. Granby is different and has different unique needs. But we have people from all sorts of backgrounds and people with all different perspectives that are exciting to bring and would love to talk to other legislators about that.
Sarah?
Amherst is, and the Pelham and North half of Granby are a rural big city. We have incredible agricultural resources, natural resources, forest lands, wetlands, but we have some incredible economic development opportunities. We have the university, the highest economic engine. So we're very diverse, and intellectually challenging and stimulating, and it's an incredible place to live, work, and raise your children.
Vera.
I can't imagine any place to live than in my community where people have been able to vote for me to be on the school board, and I have a Senate president that has been able to assign me and appoint me to a Massachusetts Asian American Commission. I live in a community where people love and care for one another, and I want to be able to unite the class and racial divisions that we are courageously tackling.
Eric, your answer, please.
I would invite them to visit and tell them that the Pioneer Valley in the 3rd Hampshire District is the best place to live in the Commonwealth. It's got great agriculture, natural resources, dynamic colleges and universities, and some of the brightest and creative people you'll meet anywhere in the Commonwealth.
Bonnie, your answer, please.
I'll tell them this. The reason why I moved to Amherst was that we moved as graduates. My husband was a graduate student, but we stayed because we treasured the rich diversity in Amherst and the scenic landscapes that exist in Pelham, Amherst, and Granby. It's been a great place to raise 4 children and educate them here in the schools. And this education is what brings us all together in the 3rd Hampshire District, is because we are all committed to educating our children in the public school system.
Okay, candidates, we're up to question number 2. And Sarah, you get to go first. And we'll ask you, if elected, what is the first bill you would file and why?
The first thing I would do is refile the Zoning Reform Act. We've been working on this for a couple of years. Massachusetts has some very antiquated zoning laws. We really need this Reform Act to help us build affordable housing, help create greener, smarter communities, and I think it's critical that we just keep moving forward on that. So first thing I would try to do is refile that legislation.
Vera.
I can think of one immediate need, and it's to protect the public's money. I am part of a school board that just authorized over $300,000 payout to the superintendent, and I was one of 3 members that objected to it. The decision was 4-3. A simple majority can just vote away people's money. And I want to make sure we institute legislation that will safeguard the public trust. Thank you.
Eric.
If it doesn't pass an informal session, the first thing I would do is refile Ellen Story's bill to prevent discrimination against pregnant workers. It's an absolute shame that it didn't pass this year. It's an urgent issue, and I believe strongly that it should pass in the next session.
Bonnie.
I have a proposal that I've already written where we can generate between $6 and $12 million without raising taxes. This $6 to $12 million I would like to have earmarked for more affordable housing or to subsidize more housing vouchers. This could be done by raising the fees at the Registry of Deeds. So when you buy a house or mortgage your house, you are providing funds for somebody who is experiencing housing insecurity.
Time's up. Solomon, your answer, please.
I will introduce a bill to invest in clean energy technology development in our state, but I find it much more important not what bill we would introduce first, but the first thing I would do would be to meet with fellow legislators and get their advice. We would all be coming in as the newest member of the legislature, and we need to learn from other people, find out what their priorities are, how we can help them, and how we can tie people's ideas together into bills that eventually have enough support that they can pass.
Candidates, here comes question number 3, and Vera, you get to answer this one first. As the state struggles with the revenue shortfall and the difficulty of balancing the budget, is it time to start talking about increasing taxes or finding other sources of revenue? Vera?
There's something called the Fair Share Amendment, and I would be excited as your state legislator to vote for it. Essentially, it'll look at households that are earning $1 million or more to tax them fairly, so that way we can generate the needed revenues that will go into public transit and public higher education. I believe in free public higher education and a transit system that works year-round for working families.
Eric.
I do believe we need to raise new revenue. Currently, we're struggling with investing in public education, transportation, human services, and other urgent needs we have in the 3rd Hampshire District and statewide. I also support the Fair Share Amendment and believe strongly that in 2018 we should pass it to make sure we have the revenue we need to invest in the future of our Commonwealth.
Bonnie.
I also agree with the Fair Share Amendment and voting in favor of it. I also feel as though we should be paying people a living wage, and we need to get people back to work. If we have more people working, we will have more people paying taxes, and that's what we need to do, is get people back to work, to get them to pay taxes, and there will be no reason that we have to raise taxes on people who are presently working. We need to get people back to work.
Solomon, your answer, please.
I also support the Fair Share Amendment and support creating new energy jobs through clean energy technology development, through putting a price on carbon pollution and investing the revenue in our economy. Longer term, I would like to reduce property taxes and increase the income tax in a progressive way to more equitably fund public schools.
Sarah.
I also support the Fair Share Amendment, but I also think that we need to increase our economic development. We need to bring more money into economic development through an innovative, high-tech economy. We have incredible resources through all the colleges and universities in our Commonwealth, in our district, and so creating more commercial revenue through economic development is critical, as well as additional tax base.
Okay, now we're going to take a short 2-minute break and then more questions for the candidates running for the 3rd Hampshire seat, trying to get the State House seat in the 3rd Hampshire District. You're watching 22 News. Welcome back to the debate between the Democratic candidates running for the Massachusetts House seat in the 3rd Hampshire District. 5 of these 6 candidates are here today. Lawrence O'Brien, a former member of the Amherst-Pelham School Committee, is a teacher and he can't participate today because of his work schedule, but the other 5 are here and we're asking them questions. We're up to question number 4, and it is, what's an appropriate state minimum wage and what would you tell small business owners who are concerned about affording that amount? Eric, you go first.
I support the fight for 15. I think we need to have a living wage in the Commonwealth. I think it's unconscionable that people should work full-time and be unable to get themselves out of poverty. I do think for small businesses it can be a significant challenge. I think if we move to 15, what I'd like to do is phase it in over a period of years to ensure we can be fair to businesses that have to adjust to that wage. Thank you.
Bonnie.
I also support a living wage of $15 an hour, which by the time it gets to 15 will not be a living wage. So we need to look at a means to adjust it. Once people are making $15 an hour, they will have more expendable income and they will be able to be buying more services from our local small businesses, and they will raise the local economy by having more money to spend. Thank you.
Solomon.
I too support a living wage of at least $15 an hour, and one of the things that I support to make costs easier for small businesses is to implement single-payer health care in Massachusetts, meaning businesses would no longer have to pay health care for employees, and this would also save municipal governments, school districts, and the state government money that could be directed to our schools, to investing in economic development, and to human services.
And Sarah.
Thank you. Yes, I support the move to a $15 minimum wage, but as Executive Director of the Amherst Business Improvement District, I have been working closely with my small businesses on making sure this is an incremental, transitional change so that they can stay in business and can afford to pay their workers. We don't want to lose business over this. So it's critical how we transition to it, but it's absolutely necessary.
Vera.
It's part of my Healthy Communities initiative. People ought to be able to work and earn a living wage to be able to support their families. Everything is so expensive and the hardest hit are the poor. And I would hope that immediately our big box industries, employers like Target and Walmart, should pay their workers at least $15 minimum wage.
Okay, candidates, time for question number 5. Governor Baker recently vetoed a pilot program to study a mileage tax in Massachusetts. This tax would tax drivers based on the amount of miles that they drive. Would you support a mileage tax? Bonnie?
Yes, I support a mileage tax because the way the structure on the gas tax is right now, the only people that are paying the taxes are trucking companies, taxi cab drivers, and the people who have the expensive, high-efficiency cars, electric and hybrid cars, are not paying their fair share. We need to charge by the mileage, or end up the same people will be paying into the tax.
Time. Solomon.
I might support a mileage tax, but what I support far more is a revenue-neutral price on carbon pollution. It's along the lines of a gas tax, but it charges a fee on fossil fuels when they're imported into our state. All our fossil fuels come from out of state, and it reinvests 100% of that revenue as dividends to residents. This means that low-income residents end up getting back as much or more as they pay in increased costs, and so it's a progressive proposal. By keeping more money in the state, it also creates jobs, and that's a much more systemic proposal.
Sarah.
I support the gas tax because that's funding critical infrastructure improvements for our roads and bridges. The mileage tax I'm still looking into. I'm concerned about the equity of folks that have to travel longer distances to their jobs. And so I want to make sure I understand all the details of that. But I do absolutely support a gas tax, and I'm looking into the mileage tax, but want to make sure that it's going to be fair.
Vera.
Transportation is critical to getting to work, getting our kids to school. And for folks who are in the lower socioeconomic categories, sometimes it's lots of travel because there are certainly multiple jobs that people are juggling. So I'm not very interested in making folks who don't have the money pay for it up front out of pocket because it is a hardship.
Eric.
No one likes taxes, but we need gas tax revenue in order to be able to pay for roads, rails, and bridges. As our vehicles become more efficient, the efficiency of the gas tax to raise money for these investments diminishes. So the reason why people talk about doing a vehicle miles travel tax is to replace that revenue. If we move in that direction, I want to ensure that the tax has an equal impact to the current gas tax on people with lower incomes and middle incomes.
Question number 6 now, candidates. In the past session, the legislature could not reach a consensus on the issue of allowing undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses. Should undocumented immigrants be allowed to earn a driver's license in Massachusetts? Solomon?
Yes. It's a pretty simple issue. Driver's licenses are used for a lot of important things that we can't deny access to because of someone's immigration status. It's a national conversation we need to have about reforming our legal immigration system to make it more streamlined and fair to all people. But in Massachusetts, we need to do right by our residents. We also need, on the subject of immigration, to be welcoming people to Massachusetts from all backgrounds, including refugees from countries such as Syria. And this plays into that too. They should be able to come here and get driver's licenses too.
Sarah.
Yes, we have to allow them to get driver's license. This is critical to their opportunities to be able to come work on the path towards citizenship. They need to be able to travel to jobs. They need to be able to travel to health care. It is one step in their process to citizenship, and it's a very, very critical one. So yes, I absolutely think they should be able to get driver's license.
Vera.
I absolutely believe that everyone who is driving ought to have a driver's license. Our state should not erect barriers to that. All cars ought to be insured, and every person that's going behind the wheel should be tested and permitted and licensed to drive.
Eric.
Immigration generally is a pretty tough national issue, but this is really an issue of public safety. We can't have drivers on the road who are uninsured, haven't gone through the appropriate testing to make sure that they're capable of driving effectively. And frankly, then we have a problem with uninsured motorists, that if they get into an accident, the other party is significantly disadvantaged because of the absence of insurance and appropriate documentation for that person as a driver. And we need that in this Commonwealth.
Bonnie.
This is a very important issue for the 3rd Hampshire District because we have towns like Granby and Pelham where there is no public transportation, and many of the residents are isolated without it and do not have the same opportunities as people in Amherst who have a little bit more access to public transportation. It's a public safety issue. Immigrants should be able to get a license when they want it and when they qualify for it, because it'll make our roads safer. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. Candidates, it's question number 7. A ballot question in November would make recreational marijuana much like alcohol. Do you support this question? Sarah?
I do not at this time. I think we still have a lot of research to do on this topic. I support medical use of marijuana, but I think when we look at states like Colorado, we have not researched the ramifications, legal, regulatory, health. So just at this juncture, I think we have to take a step back and look at how this would affect different aspects of our society before we pass it. Thank you.
Vera?
I'm the former Western Mass coordinator for the American Civil Liberties Union of Massachusetts, and I agree that recreational marijuana ought to be regulated. We've decriminalized marijuana, and now it's time to make sure that people have education and outreach about the harms of marijuana, but also it's important that we have a society that doesn't just lock people up for minor infractions.
Eric?
My position is very similar to Senate President Rosenberg. I'm not sure that the actual ballot initiative itself is the appropriate way to implement recreational marijuana in the Commonwealth, but I do actually believe that marijuana should be regulated, policed, and taxed similar to alcohol and tobacco.
Bonnie?
Yes, I agree with the legalization of marijuana, because it's becoming a public health issue, because we don't have the ability to regulate what's being sold on the street right now. It's a black market. We need to be able to be there to, as legislators, to be able to pass laws where we can control it, make it safe for people to use, and provide more tax revenue. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, time now for closing statements. You actually, I forgot. No, I forgot. Solomon, you have one chance to answer the question. You have 30 seconds, Solomon. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
I support the legalization of marijuana for people 21 plus. I have strong concerns shared by Attorney General Maura Healey of increasing access to kids and teens. So if we can do it in a way that doesn't increase access to kids and teens, I'm all for it. But voters are going to decide it this fall, and it'll be the legislature's job to implement it. So I will work to implement it in a way that reduces harm, that mitigates the problems other states have seen, or if it doesn't pass, to reduce criminalization and criminal justice system problems.
Sorry about that, Solomon. Now it's time for closing statements. Each candidate gets 30 seconds to make their closing statement. And Eric, you go first.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. I'm proud of my roots growing up in Amherst and my record of accomplishment working in the Pioneer Valley and statewide for Governor Patrick. These are difficult times, and we need an experienced, progressive voice on Beacon Hill to make sure we get the resources and attention we need here in the district. I ask for your vote on Thursday, September 8th, and invite you to visit ericnakajima.com to learn more about my campaign and contact me, and thank you very much.
Bonnie?
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to watch this segment. My name's Bonnie McCracken. My website is electbonniemccracken.com. I love living in the Pioneer Valley in the 3rd Hampshire District, and I've been able to work in the community, serving on the Historical Society, the Amherst branch of the NAACP. I've also worked for Homes for Our Troops in Granby, and I love this community, and I want to continue working for it and making it better for everybody here. Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and for this opportunity. Amherst and the area is my adopted hometown. I've been here, I've raised my children here for the last 20-something years. And I'm very committed to this valley, committing to creating and keeping jobs, committed to education, committed to the environment. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I want to keep doing it. I've been honored to have the endorsement of Rep. John Sybeck, Sheriff Bob Garvey, and District Attorney Dave Sullivan. Please vote September 8th. Thank you very much.
Solomon?
Business as usual in the legislature is not addressing the systemic problems our community faces. I want to bring new energy and a new perspective. I want to recruit other young candidates in the coming years and get bolder legislation on the agenda. I've seen young legislators be highly successful at this, and I can do the same. And I want to continue listening to people's needs in the 3rd Hampshire District, learning from people's ideas, and bringing people's ideas into specific legislation that can actually pass. Solomon4rep.org is my website. I hope to have your vote.
Vera.
Thank you for the opportunity for your vote. Granby, Pelham, Amherst. This is an important election. It's an important election to put people first, not corporations, not businesses. I'm ready to do that. We've been facing struggles in our community, and I hope you will elect someone that has been brave enough and with courage enough to speak up and speak up for the people. I've done that. I've done that in multiple ways. You're electing a Western Mass legislator.
And that's time, Vera. Thank you very much. That concludes our look at the Democratic candidates running for the State House seat for the 3rd Hampshire District. Our thanks once again to Vera Domani-Cage, Solomon Israel Goldstein-Rose, Sarah LaCour, Eric Nakajima, and Bonnie McCracken for participating. Primary day is Thursday, September the 8th. If you missed any of today's debate, you can always watch it again on our website at wwlp.com. I'm Rich Tadimer. Thanks for joining us, and have a good afternoon.